So hello guys, welcome everybody who joined today's meeting. Today's Friday, and as usual, we will show you update for the current week and what have been done on MSI track, what the progress we have during this week, and what interesting news we have on MSI track. So first of all, let me share my screen. And let's start from the burn down chart, because during this week on Monday and Tuesday, we finalized our scope of milestone 2, and we delivered final changes, final tickets, final issues, bug fixes we had assigned to this milestone 2. So actually, we delivered 143 story points out of 188, and there were 164 pull requests delivered in the scope of milestone 2. So we actually started milestone 2 from the middle of July. And this is how this is actually burned down chart of the work done in the scope of this milestone. Also, let me show you the status of MSI. So, as you know, the last 3 weeks we had a regression, and during this regression we found several bugs. Actually, there were 45 different bugs found during all this time, and 37 out of these 45 bugs fixed and delivered, and the last bunch of bugs delivered actually on Tuesday, and we still have some bugs to fix, but we don't consider them as a highest priority. So we probably these bugs, the fixes of these bugs would not get to the 3.0 Magento release, and they would be released later in the upcoming patches. So this is the status we currently have regarding the bug fixes. And now, after the delivery of the latest bunch on Tuesday, we started the final cycle of the regression, where we just make the final stabilization testing to make sure that everything works and we don't have some unexpected issues on a project. So Slava will share the status of the latest step of the regression, and he will show you the heap test and what status we have in heap test. Slava, feel free to share your screen and show what we have.
Hello, everyone. I will share my screen. So this week we started regression. Our test run called regression milestone 2 cycle 2, as you may see here. And for now, for this moment, we have tested 140 test scenario. 135 passed well, and 5 has skipped due bundle progress not supported on custom source. So our results that we didn't found yet any new issue, any bugs, and it's I think it's glad to hear and glad for me to say this. And this is actually all concerning this.
Okay, thank you, Slava. And here you can see the statistic of all the work done. So this is small statistic we gather regarding the pull request processing. So here you can see that at this point of time, in the middle of June, we actually released the milestone 1 that was done during the Meet Magento Germany in Leipzig. And here we are releasing the milestone 2. So as you can see, for example, during this month, during the Squashtober Fest, we processed 85 pull requests. So this is probably all regarding the status of regression. So we will continue it on the next week, and we'll ensure that everything works as expected. And we will start working on a product backlog for the milestone 3. So currently, if you have any ideas, proposals, maybe some features need to be delivered, we will add this proposal to the milestone 3, and starting from the next week, I will share the schedule of grooming meetings. That's going to be, as usual, open groomings, and everybody of you can join and take part in the discussion with product owner of project, with core team, with me, and with main contributors of the project. And one of the feature we already started to work on is the integration of the B2B plus MSI. And today Lars with us, and he will share the update of the investigation. Guys from tech division did and found some issues need to be fixed in a B2B to fully utilize all the possibilities provided by the MSI, and also he will show some of the fixes he already did, and he created pull requests for them, awaiting to be processed by us. So Lars, feel free to share your screen and show what you have.
Yeah, hello. So I will share my screen. You should see a Magento version, hopefully.
Yes.
Okay, cool. The last 2 weeks I was working on some issues about B2B integration of MSI. The main reason was some investigation of Vadim, our head of e-commerce at Tech Division. And I created currently 2 issues at the MSI. The first one is for the advanced checkout. Because the enterprise module didn't work with the MSI. I do some manual testing why it didn't work, and I already found the issue. And this step was only investigation for the regression list items. I already have a fix. I already open a pull request at the B2B repository, and what was the problem? It used currently the old inventory stuff, and this was the reason why the sellable quantity isn't calculated correctly. There was some questions from me because MSI can be shipped currently without, or B2B can ship without MSI. And this is currently to clarify. And if we do that, it's I can finish this pull request. Also, I will finish the pull request for the advanced checkout module. This is currently we have 5 bugs with MSI and B2B and enterprise, but the 5 bugs will be fixed if we fix the 2 parts of advanced checkout and regression of the regression lists stuff. That was from my side. Currently we have, I have here, the regression list is already fixed. It's only some testing missing and integration missing. Cool.
This looks much better than it was on a screenshot with the errors. The small update from my side. Yesterday, actually, we had a meeting with Anton, with guys from the Magento order management, because the main issue for us was not the issue, but actually the blocking point for us was the way how to properly write the fixes for the B2B, because ideal way for us is to introduce this refactoring, introducing the dependency from B2B to MSI modules, because this should be as a desirable state, because MSI is not just a multi-source inventory, but actually brand new inventory mechanism which we should have in Magento, and the one which totally substitute the legacy catalog inventory we have until Magento 2.3.0. But taking into account that currently we still have Magento order management, so our enterprise solution, which still relies fully on legacy interfaces, we are not able to utilize MSI interfaces, because this will affect our enterprise merchant who use the MOM, and they would be affected because Magento order management would not work. So the B2B would not work for them. And actually, that's why we discussed yesterday with guys from Magento order management. So we agreed that first of all, from their side, they prioritize the refactoring of Magento order management as much as possible, and we will be attracting our partners to contribute for refactoring of MOM connector. So maybe tech division will join us. And also today I had a conversation with guys from Quora. So Quora also interested to contribute to MOM connector, because they also have B2B merchants who use MOM. So, but along with that, at least now we will write all our B2B fixes as an optional one. So we will introduce a optional module with these fixes as you show. And actually in this module we will provide some kind of around plugins. And so doing this, this module actually will have dependency both to B2B and MSI. So it would be switchable, and if MSI would be just disabled. So in case merchant uses MOM and B2B, so this optional module wouldn't be enabled as well, and the merchant will still use the old interfaces. So the catalog inventory one, and everything should work smoothly for him. So I will ask you to introduce light refactoring and introduce this optional module with a dependency to both B2B and MSI. And actually, at least now, this will fix this issue, and that will be fully backward compatible for all our merchants. But I really like how you did it before, because as you did it before, this is our desirable state, how we want this stuff be implemented. So the direct dependency from B2B to MSI. So thank you very much, Lars, for your work and for your passion regarding the B2B. And I believe we will deliver. Unfortunately, these issues wouldn't be delivered for 2.3.0, but I believe they would be delivered to the first patch version, so to 2.3.1, where we supposed to provide the full support of B2B and MSI.
Yeah, maybe if, we can push this in a separate repository or something like that to have an installable meta package for the customers. It's maybe a good point to do that. We must only think about where we place this repository. Maybe we place that in the ANCOM repository, or we place that in a private repository. it's only some modules. They have a dependency, but in a different repository to build a bundle or build. Hey, if you would like use that feature with MSI and 2.0.0, you should install this patch. Because Tech Division has currently a customer. They start with the 2.3 version, and we need that function for advanced checkout and B2B.
Actually, I believe we will put this optional module to B2B repository because this is supposed to be a part of the B2B. And as we already discussed, this is a pretty valid dependency from B2B to MSI. So we will put it to the B2B, but this module would still be optional. So if the MSI would be disabled, that module would be disabled.
Okay, yeah, okay. Then I will refactoring my pull request to the B2B version. And for the enterprise version, I think we should do the same, maybe.
Could you please also use naming the same as we do? So use the prefix inventory for this module, like inventory requisition list.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it sounds good.
Cool. Thank you, Lars, for your update. And the next one gonna be update regarding the documentation. Probably you heard the buzz in Twitter during this week, looking at how our documentation devoted to REST API has been changed. And now Kevin, who is one of the authors of these changes, will show you update for MSI REST APIs. Kevin, feel free to share your screen.
Okay, hang on a second. All right, what am I showing? Oh, it's the wrong screen, sorry. No, sorry, I keep on finding the wrong screen. I'll just share it all. Where, oops. What is showing right now? Does it say manage low quantity notifications?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Okay, so I wrote 3 new articles that have not been published yet, but I will publish them today. The first change in the MSI documentation is that this API right here used to be delete low quantity notifications. It's changed to a post. Under check saleable quantities, there are 2 new endpoints. These 2 right here, and they are documented down at the bottom here. With examples as always, and I believe that's also these were not previously documented, but I'm documenting for the first time about the SSA endpoints, and so these will also be included. I'd also like to point out for the first time, this has already been published. What I'm about to talk about is that we now have an MSI area on the front page. Or anywhere within the dev docs under functional areas. There's inventory management, and I have one overview article and one about the architecture. I also have a couple of shell topics about deprecated entities, the deprecation notices inside catalog inventory point to various couple of documents here. I didn't want anyone to get a 404 if they took the link, but this is a list of the interfaces and classes that have been deprecated. And so we'll fill this out in the near future, but this is what is here. Also, sort of related, it was just mentioned that the DevDocs has a new way of displaying the REST documentation, and I'll just show that off real quickly. It's under REST, quick reference, and you have now schemas for whether you're an admin, customer, or guest. Unfortunately, when you load the admin, it takes a long time, and we're working to improve that. But I would like to point out that you can search for your favorite inventory endpoint and find it quickly. So there you go. Any questions?
I have a question.
Okay. Yes.
During this week, we introduced several changes to our web API endpoints. So we added 2 of the endpoints, which actually gonna be presented by Ivan today. Is product saleable for requested quantity and stock resolver, and also we
Yes.
So actually, my
stock resolvers here at the bottom. I mean, right here. And the other one about is right here. So I've documented all 4 of those that fall under inventory sales.
Great. And also we introduced slight changes to low stock quantity notification for the delete. So it was a
yes. It was first thing I mentioned that it's no longer delete; it's a post.
It's a post. Yeah. So everything is adjusted in our documentation, and actually, thank you very much, Kevin, for this update. And these particular changes for the web API endpoint is going to be presented today by Ivan. So Ivan, feel free.
Okay. Just one more thing. Lori normally presents. She only had one thing to mention: is that now there is now a admin bulk operations section on one of the configuration pages, and it's now been documented. So that's all Lori is going to document or present today. So on to the next person.
Okay, thanks. That's also pretty important because we use asynchronous bulk operation for the stock transferring. So that was a feature implemented by Ricardo, so the RIC. And now we have this asynchronous process of the migrating the single stock to different custom sources, and this is configuration section actually would be useful for merchant to tune and set particular config values to proceed with this migration. Thank you, Kevin, for your update. And now we can go to Ivan, who would show on behalf of the RIC, who is currently on a way to Mage Unconference in Köln. So he's not able to present it by himself, but Ivan will make it on behalf of RIC. So Ivan, feel free to share your screen and make a presentation of web API endpoints.
Hi all, let me share my screen.
Can you please stop sharing?
Kevin, could you stop sharing? Thank you. Okay. Okay, now I will show you 2 new web API endpoints. First, resolve stock by website code. Second shows product sellable for requested quantity by SKU, stock ID, and requested quantity. For presentation, I've created 2 custom websites, 2 custom stocks. You can see that. Both websites I've assigned to created stocks. Else I've created one simple product with quantity equal to 10 and assign it to test stock. Okay, firstly, I will show resolve stock by website code. Okay. Okay, I get admin token. Sorry. Okay. We have a website called test website. And run. Okay, we have first stock, which have this assigned to website. If we change website code, we get any request with a different website, because this website assigned to stock 2. Yep. Okay. Now let's check sellable quantity by SKU. For this, I simple. It's SKU, product SKU. 32, it's stock ID, and 9, it's requested quantity. And sellable true because product have quantity equal to 10. If we set 11, we have false and error. Message the requested quantity is not available. Also, I can say that all new API endpoints cover with API functional tests. It's stock resolver test. And for is product saleable? 2. Yep. I've run all inventory API tests on 2.3.0 release branch, and all tests passed on SOAP and the rest. That's maybe all from my side.
Okay, thank you, Ivan. So, can I please share my screen? So, the other interesting thing to add regarding the web APIs. So, as you already understood, we reviewed all our APIs before the release, because for us it's pretty critical to make a release with all the APIs in a good shape. Because for all the APIs, we introduce a backward compatibility policy, as you know, so we wouldn't be able to introduce changes to the APIs further, because all the changes to APIs will definitely introduce some break for our merchants. That's why we are so careful regarding the API, and we check them pretty carefully. And here I will also show you another update and the pull request created by Ricardo. So in the scope of one of his pull requests, where he was providing the database consistency for the stock migration from the default source to custom sources, he introduced the logic regarding the data, regarding the configuration migration on the source level. So currently we have the inventory configuration on the source level, as long as inventory configuration on stock level. So while we provide the functionality of the bulk transfer of the source items, along with the transfer, we're supposed to migrate also the configuration. And here, actually, it was a snippet of code Ricardo initially wrote. It was the bulk API, because for the, since Magento 2.2, all the new APIs written actually should be bulk API. So the API which accepts an array of entity entities, but not the only entity. That's why, for example, you can see that all our APIs accept an array of entities, but not the single entity. So that's gonna solve the performance issue we currently have with our existing service contracts. Because, for example, a repository save accepts only entity, and this introduces a performance degradation when we have to process many entities at once. And as you can see, all our APIs in introducing the scope of the MSI are bulk APIs, so they accept an array of entities. And in the scope of the inventory catalog API, Ricardo introduced several APIs like bulk inventory transfer, bulk source assign, and all of these APIs actually work with a bunch of entities. But the synchronization of inventory was working on a single entity basis. That's why I asked Ricardo to refactor this functionality. And Ricardo, as you can see, it was a delete low quantity notification in our case. And this is how Ricardo refactors this code. So actually, he totally eliminated the existing API. So the API source item configuration delete, which worked on a scope of the single entity. So initially, this API accepted the only source code and SKU. By means of these input parameters, it was possible just to identify the only entity. And we, instead of this API, we introduced a new API, which process the bulk entity. So now it accepts the array of the source items. And you can see that pluginization actually does not have any loop inside. So we don't have the for each loop. All we have is just another call which accepts the whole bunch of arrays. That's all. Because this implementation actually introduced a not potential, but real performance degradation. And now we improve the performance, introducing the correct API, which processes the bulk of entity. And along with that, we also updated our Web API endpoint. And now Web API endpoint, inventory configuration. Now the Web API, that's gonna be in inventory low quantity notification API. So the Web API endpoint was updated, and now it looks like low quantity notification delete. And following the RESTful architecture, we don't expose any more delete method, but taking into account that we work in the scope of this method call, we work with many entities. We use the post HTTP method. And that led to change the actually unified resource identifier, because before that it was low quantity notification, but now it became low quantity notification delete. So here's pretty interesting stuff. This is pretty interesting architectural stuff, which helps us to achieve the good performance on the MSI track, because all our APIs supports multi-entities to process in the scope of one call. This is all regarding the API. Actually, this is not all, because we had another changes of API. So we during the end of the previous week and the beginning of this week, and actually during the weekend, we spent quite a lot of time for adjusting all our APIs. And the next presenter gonna be Vitaly Boyko from Atvix, who will show you another update, and not update, but adjustments of our API. And I wouldn't still in the show. So stop sharing my screen, and Vitaly, feel free to share your update.
Hi guys, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Vitaly.
Okay, great. So I was worked on introduced PHP 7.1 syntax for all APIs where it was missed. What it means, I add strict return values and add time hits to input parameters. It was quite important to do it before the release, because as you mentioned, if you would do it later, it will break backward compatibility policy, and it will be not possible. So introducing the PHP 7.1 syntax with strict types will bring us a lot of benefits, as predictable code, readable, and I would say stable. So, but during the implementation, we faced with several issues because of. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's jump into implementation. Yep, here. We faced the issue with DB adapter, which returns all the time only string, and we need to create some workaround, like let's I show you just when it returns string or nullable result. So we should check when it's null. We will return null. Otherwise, we will return certain type. So also we faced with issue. We faced issue with extension attributes, because I'm not generated during the installation, and the installation failed. So we need for some extension attribute create physical classes. And also was a lot of issues with functional tests, which Ivan fixed fortunately, and now everything works well. Probably that's it for this topic. Other topic is yeah. Other topic is stock resolver interface doesn't accept cell channel interface. That means that we can pass to the service any extension attributes, because this is was accept only the code. So in scope of this task, I add new interface which called get stored by cell channel interface. So it this interface works as a sugar service. So we kept the old interface and just put inside old interface this new interface, because we need to keep old interface in order to have in order to convenience this work with web API and so on. So let's show you the implementation. So here is old interface. I moved old logic. I'm sorry, this is old. No. Very bad highlights. Okay, let's start with new one. This is implementation of new interface. Gets stuck by cell channel. So all logic was moved to here. So we create here So I'm sorry, what this is. Yeah. So we create hmm. So we create here we create the cell channel in all interface, and here we using could you please help me because it,
Yep, I can. So the idea is that let me share my screen probably. That's gonna work. So we are talking about the stock resolver interface. So initially we had this interface which accepted just type and code. And so the type of the sales channel and the sales channel code, and as a result, it returns the stock interface. We introduced this interface because this is no worries, Vitaly. So we introduced this interface because we wanted to make it REST friendly, because it's much easier to have the get URL and send a get request providing these two parameters, and get the stock interface as the output. But along with that, for better customization abilities, we have to provide the interface which accepts the whole sales channel. And actually, this is what Vitaly did. So he introduced the get stock by the sales channel interface, which accepts not just code and type, but actually the real sales channel interface, because the sales channel interface could be extended with the extension attributes. As you know, all the data interfaces in Magento could be extended with the help of the get extension attribute methods, which returns the code generated entities. In our case, this is sales generated extension interface. This is kind of there is some magic under the hood which could generate and introduce this interface by means of the declaration we provide in the extension attributes.xml documents. For example, and actually having two interfaces simultaneously in the code base, so the stock resolver along with the get stock by the sales channel interface, we introduce some unclarity for the extension developers, because they don't have a clue what exactly interface should be pluginized. And currently we consider the stock resolver interface as a kind of the sugar service on top of the get stock by the sales channel interface. And the real interface for the pluginization and for modification is the get stock by the sales channel interface. That's why in the implementation of our stock resolver interface, what we do, we inject the newly created interface, the real SPI interface, so the get stock by the sales channel interface, and the whole implementation of our sugar service is actually nothing more than just a wrapper on top of the real service. So you can see that this implementation is just make a preparation of the input data, and after that it makes a call to the get stock by the sales channel interface. So the extension developer if extension developer wants to make a pluginization, for example, of the stock resolving mechanism, he just need to pluginize get stock by the sales channel interface, because this is more generalized interface. It's not just a sugar service, which can be easily applicable for the REST API or for some business logic, but it's more generalized interface, and that will work for different sales channels. For example, guys from Amnesty introducing own sales channel for the customer group plus website. Some other agency could introduce even more sophisticated sales channel. For example, you see one of the pop-up notification from my Slack. It was the Amazon project, and in the Amazon integration, we create the catalog, and the catalog is sync up with Amazon. So the catalog could be created as a sales channel. So for this more generic API, this interface is supposed to be used, and actually this is the only interface which should be pluginized. So this is, and one more addition regarding the first issue demonstrated by Vitaly. So you probably mentioned that all of our APIs are using the PHP 7.1 syntax. So we use also nullable types. We also use void return types. So these are pretty. So these are the most modern interfaces and the most modern style of writing interfaces you can see in the Magento code base so far. That's probably all. That's probably all regarding the demonstration from Vitaly. Not sure whether we have any other presentation left. Looks like we are good now, and that was the last presentation. And now, actually, the latest update that we are in the process of packaging and bundling the latest version of beta, which will include all the bug fixes. We are doing it right now. That's why probably you see so many pop-ups from my Slack when I was sharing my screen. And this is actually all from our side for today. Product owner of MSI, Mark Brinton, unfortunately is not able to present on today's demo meeting, but as usual, we will upload the recording of presentation to YouTube, and the recording will be shared in the MSI Slack channel, so Mark will have an ability to watch it later. Are there any open questions or ideas or anything you would like to raise for today? If not, thank you guys for your time, and see you in a week. And of course, if you will get any questions or proposition, don't hesitate to ping us in MSI Slack channel. We are always approachable. Thank you, and see you soon, guys.
Thanks. Bye.